Managing a heat wave here in sun-drenched Western New York. Good morning, I'm Mike Shope. Today on ADP Chasing, what are our heroes doing about elite QBs? Is Davis Maddock getting his requisite 8.3%? Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jayden Daniels, is Jacob Sanderson laying back and waiting out his rooms for all the shares of Mr. Daniel J. Dimes? And I imagine Pat Kerrane from some beachfront property on one of the coasts merely just scooping up all the value, sitting there in his robe, taking a puff from his pipe. Brock Purdy, 2 rounds past ADP. Don't mind if I do. Lovey, is there any of that cab left? Not the 2012. I want the good stuff. That year was piss. Who writes this stuff anyway? That's terrible. Sorry. Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. ADP Chasing Best Ball Country. Let's ride.
ADP Chasing is for when you watch Ship Chasing, you go, these guys are just football guys.
I have my 4% exposure blanket.
Stay poor.
Actually back in if it's Ashane.
Stare into our crystal ball. Close your eyes. You know, all your entries are going to lose anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're not going to tell me how this went. I was here.
It's anti-cabal. It's anti the best ball thought leaders. I'm obviously lying to some degree because, like, I have a lot of both of these guys.
It's the most disgusting pick you can make. But, man.
I literally
I said
had a
before
pipe.
that it's anti-cabal version of Davis just looks like Sack.
No, but it does. Yeah.
I literally had a pipe that I forgot to bring down. My wife's grandfather's pipe. I thought was just I think I needed it, Pat. I think I needed it for the.
Yeah, that would have been because when you started acting, I thought I was like, why is he talking to someone off screen? What's going on? You're really in the moment there, Shope.
I needed the pipe, so to speak.
I thought I had one in here. I don't.
Directionally accurate, however.
I've got one around.
Oh yeah,
somewhere.
One of the beaches, one of the coasts.
I was on the East Coast beach. Went to Ocean City, New Jersey. Sleepy little dry town, and we for family vacation. Vivian loved the water. She was just running it. She would we have her play with little sandcastle stuff. Her cousins were there and everything. They're all older, and they're some only older by 6 months, but there's a good little group, and she would just see the ocean again, and just kind of get up, and then she just work her little way up a little dune, and then down, and then she would run into the sea. She never looked back to make sure I was there. She just go in the water.
Good for her.
Yeah, man.
By the way, this
both child, scary and awesome.
This child is 14. Pat doesn't tell you. By the way,
she is 14 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's hot everywhere. Do we hate it? Davis doesn't hate it. The heat.
No, I mean, obviously, I would prefer for it to be 72 with a
you just said that you want to be outside all day every time that it is 98. I'm hoping you mean Fahrenheit. 98 Celsius would be real.
So
doing that.
That is not exactly right. I guess what I would say is it's not going to deter me from doing outdoor activities if it's 100 degrees. I'm still gonna go golf and do I
believe pre-show you said if you're from the Midwest, you want to be outside during these temperatures. That's I believe.
Well, you're used to it. You can't avoid it in the Midwest.
Maybe also the other thing is I love to read outside and I love to get the sun. I'm gonna actually in the hour in between the Swolecast and then when I stream, I'm gonna go sit outside in the backyard with the dog and fill up a kiddie pool for her and let her sit and get in. Honestly, what is a gross, disgusting kiddie pool, and
while you're reading a book and the pages are literally catching fire from the heat outside as you read.
Yeah, it is very hot. It is don't get me wrong. Right now in the Midwest, it is super hot. And the chat, if you're saying you're from the Midwest and you don't engage in this, you're not a real Midwesterner. You're a coward.
I am a coward, and I'm deceptively familiar with this. People always think that Winnipeg we live in igloos 100% of the time. That's not the case. Anyone who lives in like Minnesota or North Dakota, we have the exact same temperature as you, which means the winter is like intolerably cold. And you'd think you get a nice chill summer. You don't. Vancouver, where I now live, is literally paradise. It's like never snows. It's never cold. And then it also never goes above like, I'm trying to do Fahrenheit.
Does it rain there? You get a lot of rain?
80. We get a lot of rain. I love rain. So that's not a problem for me.
Yeah. So when people say paradise, they don't normally mean that it's raining all the time. Just
it doesn't rain all the time. It rains like in November a lot.
Dude, liking
so
rain
it's better than
is
Seattle
a red
weather.
flag.
Yeah, maybe it's a red flag, but I'm a big rain fan for sure. I like rain, and actually I like rain for a specific reason, and it's because I love walking, but I'm really bad at like not pulling out my phone when I'm on a walk. And I never have as good of an experience when I do that, but I can't stop myself. But if it's raining, then I will ruin my phone.
You know what?
So I have no choice but to just like
here.
lock in on music or a podcast because the rain will ruin my electronic devices. And then I just get to experience the outdoors.
Pat's face right now, you might as well be talking about Mary and Hosa, by the way.
No, this is a very non-derogatory. That's fair. This is my face when my mind's been changed. I don't like it, but
I'm awarding Jacob some points for that answer. Yeah, because normally what people say when like, oh, I love the winter, I love the rain, what they mean is they don't like to physically move their bodies. Like a day where they take 1,400 steps is like a GTO day for them, which can't co-sign that behavior. Obviously.
I would say Buffalo is actual paradise because I love 50 inches of snow in 20 minutes once a year. So I'd have to put Buffalo on top. Sorry, I didn't do that in meters. Maybe next week we'll go meters there.
Inches and feet, you guys actually win on that one. Inches and feet are better than anything we have in the metric system.
I'm strong Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit to me
sucks.
is Fahrenheit's so much better than Celsius.
No, Fahrenheit's for babies.
Fahrenheit's more.
It's for babies.
Fahrenheit. Each degree tells you a smaller amount of information, which I want for the weather. I want to be able to dial in what I'm saying the weather is. I don't want to have to these huge Celsius chunks just because that's the water boils at this, so we have to have it as 100. That's stupid. We're never going to be up in the high part of the range. Water's about to boil. We'll die.
Yeah, I would love to do like blind weather test with Pat Carrain where we like have him transported into 67 Fahrenheit and 64 Fahrenheit, and he tells me the difference of which one is hotter.
I'd like to know, Jacob. I like to know.
I don't think you would do as well as you'd think.
I was in Ohio weekend before last for lacrosse. Hot, Ohio heat, pretty good. And I learned that to play on Underdog in Ohio, you have to download rankings. Did you guys know that?
You just have to do
You just have to adjust one, yeah.
You literally go Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, bang, you're in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I ended up using the ones on the app. I don't know why.
But if you don't know that,
here,
I'll $10 a month.
I'll break. Let me break your brain even more. If you use an optimizer for daily fantasy sports, it is legally written that you cannot use the same projections and optimizations as everyone else, because that would be unfair. So on RotoGrinders, on Run the Sims, everywhere, you have to manually adjust two projections. That could be excluding a guy who projects for 0 points. That could be changing ownership. It could be anything, but you cannot use the white label. Like you cannot just go in and click optimize and go. Because this was something that was negotiated, 9 years ago by some drunk New York state senator during like Ethan Gate. Like truly, this is, Jacob, you'll know this. This is the Gelman amnesia thing where like all these people who don't know anything and are not experts in fantasy sports had to make these rules. But then, we go talk about, we go talk about policy and you're like, oh, well, of course, this person who's discussing the Iran-Israel conflict knows everything there is to possibly know about it. This article that I read, but yes, that is true, and it's the same rule why you have to do the two rankings.
I don't think I had to adjust anything. I just had to upload them or do something to get them from wherever A to B.
Well, you're functionally adjusting it. That's what Davis is saying. If you're doing a Sims product, I mean, you literally, Davis is exactly right. You go in, you can put the same projection, but 0.0000001 at the end, and you've adjusted it.
Well, we made it work. Slide one before we get into elite quarterbacks and then risers and fallers. This is a fun one. Welcome to the squad. Last week, my team on last call, D'onte Thornton. And, you know, he's the buzz with the Raiders, and Jack Bech isn't. At least that's how it seems. So, who's got slide one for us?
Pete, is it you?
Wow.
No, it's me.
Pete-
Look at that.
What is Pete getting credit for? He's not even here. This is. I brought these.
This is a great bit.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know what the graphics were. I meant Pete, is it you to like show talking shit on Jack Bech, because that's like Pete's entire brand.
Yeah, no,
someone have the slides. The slides came up. And then
you're right.
Is it you? It was a beat late, so I was like, it would be plausible that Pete had to come in and put the slides up because I was too late doing it. But it wasn't.
That would be funnier if Pete was so upset that the Jack Bech slander slide was a half a second late that he logged in and he was like, "We've got to get our Jack Bech slander up immediately."
That's what I thought.
Well, you kind of called it. He is represented here with the T-shirt in the bottom right. We've got
Pete is going to be so mad when he finally watches D'onte Thornton play. He's going to be like, "This is the guy that I spent. This is the guy that I was doing against Jack Bech."
I'm not too I'm not too worried about us watching a lot of D'onte Thornton this year. But.
Yeah. No, incredibly good point. And I think it's so funny that basically the conversation is, well, Jack Bech is just far too duplicative with Jakobi Meyers and Brock Bowers. They could never possibly get him on the field. I mean, you know what? You know who are pretty good players? Jakobi Meyers and Brock Bowers are pretty good. Pretty good players. Feels like duplicating that skill set as opposed to duplicating. You know what I'm not real worried about? Duplicating the Trey Tucker skill set. I think I'm pretty fine not drafting a ton of the Trey Tucker skill set. It seems okay to me. You know who's like pretty good? Jakobi Meyers and Brock Bowers. I think maybe I'll just go ahead and go with the guy who had more receptions than Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. when they were playing together in college. I think I'm good with that over the guy who's your best at a school that, by the way, and Jacob will back me up on this, the entire Tennessee situation is designed to put up fake video game numbers for the quarterbacks, for the running backs, for the wide receivers, for everybody. And D'onte Thornton couldn't even put up fake video game numbers.
He ran like 25% of the routes because he can only run in a straight line really fast.
So in other words,
but he does run in a straight line really fast.
Real fast. I'll give him credit. Credit. Yeah. So I think Jack Bech, and by the way, this whole dude, it's the Raiders. You guys are going all in on the Raiders. First off, how did that all work out for you last year with Brock Bowers? I'm going to suggest it probably didn't work out very well for you guys. The thing I will add on top of that is Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly. You know, this ain't Josh McDaniels and whatever chuckle dicks we're calling plays on that offense. This is a different and more competent offensive environment.
The Heat is working well for Davis so far today, I think.
I'm beginning to think that Davis is cold-blooded. That with the weather warming up, he has come alive. This man is spitting fire right now.
Let him go.
And you know what? I think the Jack Bech stuff has gone too far. And Pete deserves to be called out for just drafting a ton of Thornton and no Bech. Oh wait, he hasn't selected Thornton once.
It's early. It's still June.
That's very fake influencing from Peter to so what how is Peter fading this second round wide receiver on a not high end offense, but fast pace offense? And we're just saying, the Colin Cowherd, Jack Bech, we're good. We have D'onte Thornton. I'm good. That's honestly, I'm probably so old that is like actually too niche for this audience. This is like at this stage, this is like a 9-year-old meme.
Wasn't that where we have Ben Simmons?
We have Ben Simmons. Yes.
Yeah. There we
go. So in other words, D'onte Thornton is Christian Wilkerson, Trey Tucker, Raheem Mostert, Michael Mayer. These are the Ben Simmons in my opinion.
And Jack Bech is LeBron James in this scenario.
Let me get Jack Bech is Zadrunas Ilgauskas in this situation, and Bowers is the LeBron. Jacoby Myers is the Booby Gibson, of the situation.
I think Jack Bech is more of a Matthew Dellavedova.
That's actually a very good comp. They're probably the same height. They're probably
as long as none of them
similar.
is the Charmander. At least I can follow it. Yeah, that's
that might be the problem. Is
actually,
that Jack Bech is
he's
the Charmander of Jacoby Myers?
Myers is the Charmeleon.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry.
And Bowers is the Charizard.
Charizard. That's the problem. You don't want to be the Charmander when you have a Charmeleon and
D'onte
a
Thornton
Charizard.
is the Arctic Char.
D'onte Thornton is honestly.
Other than that
D'onte
being
Thornton,
a pun, I don't know.
He's the magic card. He's got
It means that he's for the fish. The fish are taking.
Got him.
For the record, I didn't have that link when I said it. I was just going on fun, but I came up with it later.
That's good. You got to shoot first and figure out what you meant later. Sometimes on this show.
That's for sure.
Oh man. I don't know. I mean, I think largely the Bech thing is like a little bit overblown. He's running with the twos, and he's like looked fine. And normally we don't get all worked up if a second round receiver spends mini camps with the twos. It's that in combination with Thornton running with the ones and looking really good. But
is there actually an example of panicking with the second round wide receiver running with the twos that worked?
I don't know. Because the twos are the twos.
Moore.
They're fine.
Actually, he was like Sky Moore probably worked.
Well, I
don't know.
I think it was the reverse.
Was more
Sky.
even with
I was going to
twos?
say the reverse.
Well, he
happened
in the
with Moore.
in the preseason he played like no snaps with the ones. I remember that.
Okay. If this was the preseason, I would have a very, very different attitude about it.
I am
This was
totally
minicamp.
open. I am totally open.
Oh, minicamp?
Open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm open to burying
mean-
Jack Bech if it's
Yeah.
like Christian Wilkerson is playing better than him.
Okay.
100%.
I'm not burying him based on one 3-sentence athletic blurb about how
Right.
they're concerned that his duplicative skill set is their two best players.
So it's the Yankee line. Unless Nathan Yankee is tracking your snaps, then you don't care who they play with.
I mean, I will adjust on each situation. This particular situation, I'm not concerned, mostly because his actual biggest competition is a player who's not even mentioned in this blurb. His biggest competition for playing time is Michael Mayer. That if Michael Mayer runs back his snaps from last year, there's not enough meat on the bone.
That's a good point.
For Jack Bech.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear more of that weighed in upon. The interesting thing in this offense, obviously, is that Chip Kelly's stuff, based on his NFL stuff, does not work as well in 12, but he might be a different man,
Right.
Yeah.
We're getting to the point with Bech where he can play basically none of the season and have a spike week once in the final 3 weeks.
It's 14th round pick now.
Golden. Yeah. So you're getting to the point where I think he's starting to make a lot of sense. Not like as a smash, because there's still, he wasn't a first round pick. Like I took a lot of Pearsall last year with just like he's a first round pick. They're going to get him on the field at some point. Bech being a second round pick and a weaker prospect even than Pearsall, I don't feel as confident about that right now. But if it looks like, he's a part of their plans, he's just not going to play right away, then I'm going to feel, I think, pretty good about him if he's at these prices, towards the end of the summer.
On the Risers chart for today, D'onte Thornton. No, it's not D'onte. D'onte Thornton shows up. Some familiar names. We've had a few of these guys, in recent weeks. J.K. Dobbins up top the list. Miles Sanders, Travis Etienne, Rashee Rice, Chuba Hubbard, George Kittle, DeAndre Swift, and Isaiah Pacheco. It almost feels like last week.
Called me a madman when I was posting my 32% Miles Sanders screenshots, and now look where we are.
Now look at it.
30 picks of ADP later. I did not realize this was happening. Literally, because I don't know. I had a really busy work week last week, so I think I did like 2 drafts, and then I logged in and I was trying to find Miles Sanders when I did a draft the other day, and I was like, wait, why isn't he around anymore? It's round 17. Like, this is my round 17 pick. And then I saw the ADP in the 180s, and I was like, my God, like that's wild. Yeah, what is this going to keep going up? Do you guys think? Like, I
think so. I mean,
sweet.
I don't think he's that different than Javonte at this point.
Well, I think he's better.
Right.
Except for price. That's it.
I'm not sure.
I have had him ranked ahead of Javonte in my initial BBM ranks. I then changed to be less ridiculous, but maybe I'll have to change back in a month. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at 18%, so not as heavy as you went, but I kind of wish I had your position on it. It's the thing that's that's not fun is that like Miles Sanders isn't good, and so you do have to contend with that element when you're considering him. But
yeah,
neither is Javonte Williams. The Sacrilegious was sharing some stuff with us from one of the beats, and it was like at right now there's thinking that Phil Maffa might be ahead of Jayden Blue.
That's not good.
And that Javonte Turpin.
I call. I'd like to see that raise, and I would like to immediately call.
The concern I think for Blue is that Javonte Turpin, it appears to be in favor and does kind of the Blue stuff. And then it's like, what do you need behind? Like, what don't you have? And the answer is a good early down running back. And so maybe Maffa.
Well, I got bad news for the Dallas Cowboys. They don't got one.
They don't got one. But they might be looking at Maffa being like, are you good? And the answer is no. But but Blue isn't really that either. So I don't know. The whole backfield is I just want to take the cheapest guy, I think. And Sanders, even with the rise, is still that. So I've been still taking
Blue and Sanders are gonna flip very soon when the best ball cabal gets their way.
They should flip.
Can I just ask?
They definitely should not.
If all these contests just dropped today, we forget everything about closing line value. We try to unanchor ourselves from ADP, unburden ourselves by what has been. What do you think would be the fair ADP for each of the Dallas Cowboys running backs today?
And no one. The biggest part of this is that everyone has to forget that Javonte Williams was once an exciting second round pick. During the first Obama administration.
Well, you don't have to forget that. You know everything you know about these players. The only thing I'm asking you to forget is where their ADPs have been in the 2025 best ball tournaments. Like, what do you think is the right ADP if all these contests were dropping today?
Right ADP, Miles Sanders, 137, Jayden Blue, 149, Javonte Williams, 174, Phil Maffa, 215.9.
Okay, so if that was the ADP, then I would just do the exact reverse of what I've been doing
just do
all
Javonte.
summer, and I would just take Javonte
all day. I think they should all be around pick 145 or something like that, or 150. Like, we don't know anything. Like, this backfield is what we know is that it looks right now to be Javonte Williams and Sanders as the 1A and 1B, and maybe not in that order. So we have this big gap between the 1A Javonte, who might actually be the 1B, and then down to Sanders, who might actually be the 1A. So I think hammering Sanders makes a lot of sense. But then both of these guys suck, so that opens the door for Blue. The problem is that in reality, maybe a running back, but in the player pool, a wide receiver, Javonte Turpin might be kind of their scat back type instead of Blue. And then maybe they mix in Maffa. So you're just like, if you look at last year, Rico Dowdle was an awesome pick when he was in the 11th and 12th round. Zeke was going kind of in that same range too, and there wasn't a third guy. So I don't know. I think the Javonte price just doesn't really make sense to me. That's the one where I'm like,
if you look at any of the fancy stats, yards after contact average, missed tackle. I got a good one. Can you highlight Jared Morgan's comment here? He says, I still don't get the Javonte hate. I will solve this for you in one stat. Javonte Williams had a worse missed tackle force rate than Gus Edwards last year. Gus Edwards had more wiggle and was more powerful than Javonte Williams last year. So
yeah, Javonte Williams was running behind one of the best offensive lines in the league and couldn't get anything going. I mean,
no backfield competition, had all the opportunities for 2 years in a row.
Yeah. Rush yards over expected. He had minus 83. Only guys worse were Kareem Hunt and DeAndre Swift. He had a success rate of 30%. Only guys lower than that were DeAndre Swift again. Maybe he's bad. Travis Etienne and D'onte Thornton. So you get no explosion, no consistency. To Davis's stats there, no broken tackles. He's reliable as a pass blocker. You get that. But like the success rate thing sucks when you think about like, is he good in short yardage? Well, no. Like, not if he's got a horrible success rate. That's like,
right.
So some of these guys who aren't that explosive, they're at least consistent. So,
I think, and Sanders sucks too. Like
Sanders sucks too.
Like he's also bad. But like, I don't even really understand the idea. So the only thing Javonte really has over Sanders is pass protection. But even at their peaks in the NFL, like Javonte's peak in the NFL was at a timeshare with Melvin Gordon as a rookie, and then he got devastatingly injured. And I think if he didn't get injured, he probably would still be a pretty good running back. But he did, and he's never looked remotely competent ever since. I mean, at least with Sanders, like his peak in the NFL in 2022 is frankly more impressive than anything Javonte Williams ever did. He had 1,269 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. And he got a massive contract by the Carolina Panthers. I think he's like pretty washed since, but I don't know. I think he's like fine. Like he had a couple moments on the Panthers where he had some breakaway runs or breakaway after the catch plays. I haven't seen Javonte do that.
Javonte 12.5% breakaway rate last year.
So it's
like,
just
that's like Hunter Lupke beat that.
So I don't know. I think Sanders is should not be a starting running back in the NFL, and it's preposterous that he has a chance to be. But I actually do think he is legitimately a better runner. I think he's probably legitimately the best runner on this team, which makes him like the 77th best runner in the NFL. And it is insane that the Cowboys don't have anyone better than any of these options. But I do legitimately think on merit, he is the best option that they have.
The thing about this, and I guess this is why we spend so much energy on it, is the old what do you win when you win game is a lot if you get the right guy here. And I don't see why they would need Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams to play any kind of significant roles. Why wouldn't it be one or the other for whatever reasons they go by to decide? So I could see the rookies.
Shope, you're right. There's been a lot of this, like people will just sort of do this glib thing on Twitter where they're like, yeah, how did that work out for you idiots drafting all the Broncos running backs last year? And the answer is it worked out pretty good. Those dudes just all absolutely sucked. But if you bink this year's Rico Dowdle, who was fine, I don't think anyone thinks Rico Dowdle is like an awesome player.
No, I was in on Rico Dowdle, and I was never like he's so good. He's good enough. He's going to be good enough.
So basically, if you get
better than Zeke,
if you get a good enough fantasy season from any of them, a good enough ability season, you are going to run into, 12 and a half, 13 points per game. Doesn't sound like much, particularly the way a lot of the slappy idiots are drafting teams. Guess what, man? 13 points for 5 consecutive weeks is going to do a lot for your team. If you're fading Derrick Henry, if you're fading CMC, if you're fading Breece Hall, if you're fading Kyron Williams, and you have, Chase and all these dudes, that is going to matter a lot for your team. Probably don't be building a huge position of Jayden Blue and Miles Sanders if you're super overweight on all the early round running backs. Doesn't make any sense for you. But if you are drafting, 4 wide receivers through 6 a lot of the time, all these guys have the ability to help. Chat is saying Dowdle didn't have any competition. Dumbest thing I've ever heard. Franchise legend Ezekiel Elliott was averaging, I think, 13 and a half touches per game before I don't remember. Did he get hurt or did they cut him last year? I like, yeah.
No, he was suspended at one point, but then he was unsuspended. And I don't know if he ever got cut, but his role
just got phased out. I don't think he got cut.
Yeah, I remember they
decreasing role.
But it actually took a long time for Dowdle to really be that relevant because
the unfortunate thing was that he never really became the guy until right when Dak got hurt. I remember it was the game against Pittsburgh, which I think was Dak's last full game before he got hurt the very next week. And that was when Dowdle like kind of officially took over.
I remember he smashed on Thanksgiving, right? Didn't he? He like had,
that
he
was
had like a
Cooper
huge game on
Rush against the Giants. He had a few big games down the stretch, like because once they got, I mean, that was the
huge week 14,
Rush,
I think.
They ran the ball all
week
the
13
time
too, maybe.
when they were in competitive script with Rush, but then sometimes they would just get blown out, and then it was over. But
basically, I am encouraging all of you to use your critical thinking skills. And not just do pattern matching for this thing that just happened is going to be the thing that happens again. And use that as your guide here. I remain a Jayden Blue is the only one that has an elite skill in the entire backfield. So that is the one that I
What
like
is
to
that
draft.
skill?
Speed?
He fast.
He's also a good pass catcher.
Yeah, okay.
He ran a 4.28 at the
his
pro
breakaway
day.
numbers sucked. Like
I mean,
breakaway percentage.
You're talking about
like,
a guy who
just,
barely
like,
played. You're talking about a guy who just
I mean,
barely
like
played.
percentage of his own yards like is low. Like he didn't run long.
No, he's a bad runner.
Ran short. Yeah,
runner.
So like the speed thing, I'm like, I don't know. Like Woody Marks is fast too. You breathe on him, he falls down. Like he's not a good breakaway runner. You know, it's a problem.
Woody Marks is not 4.28 at his pro day fast.
All right.
I've been informed that Ezekiel Elliott did get cut, and the chat is saying that Dowdle wasn't anything until Zeke got cut, which is both not true, but also very funny if you just think about it for like 2 seconds. That like this guy never would have done anything if the team didn't cut his competition. It's a very funny comment.
I had another. Oh, you know who the top two RotoViz box score sim comps are for Jayden Blue? It's literally exactly you'd expect. It's Nyheim Hines and Chris Thompson.
Yes.
Two guys who were
is.
basically useless NFL players, but their teams two different seasons. The 2 different seasons
not disrespect
kind of
Nyheim
were
Hines
forced
like
into
that.
playing them. And guess what? They were pretty good. You want a really high end Jayden Blue comp? I'll give you the moonshot. It's a version of Raheem Mostert that got drafted. Raheem Mostert was always a part-time player. Actually was recruited to Purdue as a track athlete. Bounced around on 4 NFL teams before he ever found a role. The 49ers just let him go, right? Because he couldn't stay healthy. Super Binks for the Miami Dolphins. I mean, these guys are similar archetypes of players, fast guys who like didn't play their best football until later.
Yeah. Imagine fading rookie Jayden Blue when he's going to crush in 2031.
Dude,
guys, Pat, I'm asking you to guess how many receptions rookie Nyheim Hines got.
17.
No, he had a bunch. He got installed right away.
That was the year. It was super annoying. I mean, you're the Colts guy, but that they wouldn't use Jonathan Taylor as a 3-down
No,
back.
that was actually 2020. His rookie year was not that. His rookie year was the year that Marlon Mack got hurt, and then they tried Nyheim Hines as like the real running back, and then they eventually settled on Jordan Wilkins, and then I think Mack eventually got reintegrated. Anyway, the answer is 63. He had 63
I guess
receptions
60
as a rookie. Oh, I didn't hear you, so it doesn't count.
The chat back me up. I guess 60. I was within 3.
That's pretty good. He also had 63 receptions 2 years later, which was the Phillip Rivers, Jonathan Taylor year. Nyheim Hines. That's been basically my comp for Blue all along too, and is a pretty obvious one. And
and while we're here, he had 2 kickoff return touchdowns in one game 6 days after DeMar Hamlin went down. Not bad.
Just keep an eye on Javonte Turpin hype, because he like the problem is that they might already have a guy who's going to play that exact role.
All right, here's a good let's do this. Let's do this good bit.
That's fair.
Everyone guess how old Javonte Turpin is. This will be a fun bit.
Is this like the Rico Dowdle thing where I thought he was a 2nd-year player and he's a 5th-year player?
It is exactly.
I'm gonna guess
like
28 because he was in like the USFL for a while or something.
I'll guess 27.
He is 28 and turns 29 this year.
Wow.
So I can go.
Yeah. So basically, the point being, I think we love to bet on these things. Javonte Turpin. You know what Javonte Turpin is? Really fun theory player. Really fun in theory to be like,
wait. And how would you describe Jayden Blue exactly?
Jayden Blue scored. Jayden Blue had the best game of his college
Blue's
career.
In theory,
yeah, they're both in theory.
Jake Blue had
Cowboys
the
rosters in theory. They have
okay,
like
that's a fair point. Yeah,
I've used this comp before and gotten pushback fairly on it because they're very different types of players physically. But this does remind me of the year in Atlanta when we were trying to figure out who the running back was, and we were willing to take Quadri Ollison. We were taking that random UDFA who I cannot remember for the life of me. Yeah, Javian Hawkins. And it was Mike Davis. It was the year Mike Davis was going like the fifth round, which was absurd.
Patterson.
And the answer was Cordarrelle Patterson, but he had wide receiver eligibility on
That's the
underdog.
best thing I've ever done in my life was I actually drafted Cordarrelle Patterson. And I
had like 20 Cordarrelle Patterson teams that year and didn't win. If it wasn't going to happen for me then, it's not going to happen for me now.
Well, is the overall point here that Turpin is not to be ignored? Sounds like it.
Turpin's not to be ignored. I think Turpin's a part of this backfield in a way that's not official for us, but is going to impact the other guys and potentially Blue, and might be the only guy who's worth a damn at all in this. The last point on this would be Miles Sanders last year only saw 55 carries. He had minus 44 rush yards over expected. He was worse on a per touch basis than Javonte Williams in a backfield in which Chuba Hubbard was the third most efficient back in the league in rush yards over expected, behind only Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. So there's every chance that Sanders completely sucks and is even worse than Javonte Williams. And we just haven't seen it as recently. So to me, this is like, it's all about price. Like the second, to Jacob's point earlier, if Sanders is going in the 130s and Javonte Williams is going in the 170s, I would be hammering Williams because I think, the whole point here is I might be able to bank a starter for cheap, but it has to be cheap. It has to be like very cheap because there's a real chance here that just all these guys just totally suck. And that Hunter Lipke, who we haven't talked about yet, is getting some third down stuff. And maybe even some goal line stuff.
Lupke's going to play. I mean, God, I literally cannot believe we're doing 30 minutes on this. But Lupke is going to play. Lupke is going to play a lot. But I will,
because Javonte just kind of is Hunter Lupke.
So
but Lipke's better.
You're not wrong. What I will say is that this is kind of a new phenomenon.
Lipke's better, dude.
Have you guys been noticing this trend of like running back, fullback
match between current Javonte and Hunter Lupke?
I
think the odds would be like Javonte plus 120.
No, it'd be like minus 170. He wouldn't hit the 200s, because everyone would be too nervous.
Lupke will play, but not in the way that people are thinking. Lupke will play in the way that, like, go look at the Bengals snap distribution from last year, and you see like Drew Sample played 30% of the snaps. I don't remember Drew Sample touching the ball once. Like Lupke is like their fullback, their fourth running back, their third tight end, like special teams guy.
I just want Lupke to get one start so we can get the Sam Sherman tweet about how he's actually a fullback and no one should be talking about him starting this week.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot of these other players on the Risers list, numerous times even. I think Etienne is interesting. That's a pretty good move based on maybe it's 2 weeks in a row. Do we have him last week too? I know we've talked a lot about Jacksonville. And, we did get to Darnold.
Like, people react very strongly to very limited information, right? Like we talked about this with Bech. I think it's with Sanders. It's like that one tweet about he's getting reps with the first team. With Etienne, it's I think similar stuff. It's definitely like there's these uncertain situations. They're still uncertain. We get like a tiny little piece of the puzzle and people react very strongly to it because there's nothing else there. We'll see. I'm like Etienne is now going ahead of Cam Scatterbo. That's so tough. I mean, I wasn't really that in on Etienne before, but I could see the case. Now I think it's too rich for me, but I don't know. Maybe you guys are more into it.
I see the case. The case is that
he
came out of the wilderness of being injured. He is honestly, stylistically, if you think about the good Etienne, he is more stylistically like Bucky Irving in the Liam Cohen offense, whereas Tank and LeQuint and Tootin are sort of like, I don't know, I guess maybe Tootin is closer stylistically too. But Tootin is a 4th round pick. You know, 4th round picks don't hit all the time. What it is it's a Lindy effect in which every day that Etienne is not traded, cut, or that the coaching staff says it's a 3-man battle, may the best man win, people will gravitate towards what Etienne has been the starting running back for the Jaguars for as long as, you know, underdog fantasy has existed effectively.
Sure.
So we're just going to keep taking that guy. I would guess that is probably not reflective of the true probability. I kind of think the true probability is like 33% in terms of like who leads this backfield in rushes, and it will be sort of fluid.
Okay.
I've been
out.
less bullish on Bigsby than that, but I think it's Etienne or Tootin have a, you know, I think Bigsby would be a dog to those guys, but
what is
I think
Travis
it's definitely
Etienne
Etienne in week 1, and then I think
what is he
depends on. Go for it.
Sorry, what is he good at? What does he do? Speaking of, you know, Jaden Blue and his one trait, what am I getting from Etienne? Maybe I just have too many memories of him getting, you know, 6 goal line carries in a row and not scoring or something. Like his pass catching got knocked coming out. What's the upside? I mean, not in terms of a team context, but a player one.
What is he good at today, or what was he good at like a couple of years ago? Because if
he wins the job through rational coaching, why would it be?
I mean, I always thought Etienne got overhated during his peak, because I think a lot of people I thought were kind of stubbornly out on him from time that he was a prospect. I think he's a better pass catcher than he's given credit for. I don't think that a lot of the concerns about his pass catching are necessarily translated, but I do think that as a runner, he's extremely reliant on athleticism because he's kind of a straight line guy. And he's just, at least to me, hasn't showed the same juice since not even really 2023, like early season 2023, 2022, but like latter half 2023, all of 2024. And to the injury stuff, like, but like he's always banged up. Like every year he's been better at the beginning of the season than the end of the season. So I think it's fair to say that he has the duck durability concerns as a workhorse, and not even as much like durability concerns as in he won't play, but we've seen his efficiency tail off from start of season to end of season 3 consecutive years. I think it's kind of a fair trend now as a running back in particular. I do expect him to start the season as the starter in week 1, but I still think that if Tootin gets a chance to play, and I think he will at some point, I just think he's going to look better. Wow, let's see.
Under 4 yards per carry each of the last 2 years. Care about that. It's a bubblegum card stat, but still. All right. Pat, anybody on this list you want to jump in on? We had a few of these guys last week when you were away.
Rice is going to keep rising, I think. This isn't the end of it.
Yeah.
Kittle, too.
Kittle's been one of the best picks on the board the whole way, so that makes sense. Chuba, I think, is almost kind of like replacing Mixon to some degree. Like you're like,
and Harvey.
Yeah. So it almost has nothing to do with him. So it's a little silly. At the same time, he was very good as a runner last year. I think on underdog in particular, I'm willing to kind of go there where it feels a little fragile on one level. Like the zoomed out view is kind of fragile. It's like, you know, this didn't end up getting. I was going to say unheralded. He was heralded, and then he was unheralded after his final season. But he, you know, there's a little bit of pedigree to the prospect profile, but not as much as you'd like. Takes him a couple years to establish himself, but I think he's good. He's just not much of a pass catcher, so it's a little bit limited. That seems fine. The Pacheco one,
a hotter prospect.
Sorry.
Oh, I think we lost Show.
No, I think I'm a little bit wonky here, so I'll come back.
The Pacheco one, I kind of get, but
it's the same thing. It's the same thing as Etienne. Every day he's not injured. Every day we don't have Andy Reid gassing up Rashard Smith or Eli Mitchell or Kareem Hunt. It's the
Well,
same
Kareem
thing.
Hunt's
There
going to
will
make the
be-
roster, it looks like.
I am not that certain. I feel like, to me, it kind of feels like a max one Eli Mitchell, Kareem Hunt situation. I think they did a very small, low amount of, it's only $1.5 million with a low amount guaranteed for Kareem Hunt. That felt like insurance for me based on, okay, we got Pacheco in camp. How healthy is he? Are we putting Pacheco on the pup? Like, whatever. Because Eli Mitchell, if you guys remember, it's a long time ago, he was the first signing of free agency. It was the first tweet that Schefter sent. Like, I think they wanted Eli Mitchell, and the Hunt
My read
signing.
was they sent out like the way you would in Madden. You're just like, you throw out like a bunch of the same shitty offer, and then Mitchell was like, "Oh, sick, I'll do it."
Well, probably. I don't like if Rico Dowdle off 1,000-yard season got the exact same contract, there probably were not a ton of good offers out there.
But if you're Dowdle, you're not going to
Mitchell.
insta accept a shitty offer. You're like, hang on,
Exactly.
I'm going to go see. But Eli Mitchell, you're like, yeah, this sounds great.
Plus, it's Kansas City.
Granted,
yeah.
well, I was going to say, this does also come down to, like, philosophically, what are you thinking the Chiefs offense wants to be this year? Like, do you think they are comfortable running back what they've been the last 2 years? Because if so, Kareem Hunt is a better fit for that. Kareem Hunt, 0 explosive runs last year. Started 13 games, had no runs over 20 yards.
Yeah.
Eli Mitchell, very, very explosive runner in his career. I think he's got like a 32% breakaway rate or something, but he just like really struggles to be available. He's like the most injured running back in the league. So if you think Chiefs are totally fine, just like dinking and dunking, Mahomes plays like Gardner Minshew, who ironically is now his backup quarterback, right? And that's so funny. If you think they are going to do that again, then probably Kareem Hunt is the one you're taking. If you're more of a glass half full guy, I think Eli Mitchell is the one you want. And I mean, if you want to do a little bit of pattern matching, Rashard Smith and Rashee Rice were, funnily enough, not only just college teammates in the wide receiver room together at Southern Methodist University.
Davis, are you out on Pacheco then? Are you saying? Because you're more. Last week, Mitchell came up. I think you've been more consistently, the Chiefs are not going to revert to their fun form.
Yeah, I mean, my skin in the game answer is that the Chiefs player I've drafted the most this year is Rashard Smith. He's the cheapest. He's got the widest range of outcomes from doesn't make the team to is the McKinnon to is the, like, he could also kind of occupy like a Hardman, what was his name? The Oregon guy who now is insane on D'Anthony Thomas style role on the team. And if they are fun, if the Chiefs revert to form, Smith is the one that can just be like, generating explosives left and right.
Who was the Williams? Not go ahead, sir.
No, you go, Pat.
I was, because there were the two Williams. There was Darrell Williams, which wasn't as fun, but Damian Williams was the fun. And that's the
rightful
guy.
Super Bowl MVP.
Yes, correct. Just gonna say it.
Please do not. Like, literally the worst financial run bad of my life was him not winning that.
Sorry.
Slowly followed by Kadarius Toney at 100-1, not winning Super Bowl MVP 2 years ago when he went down on the 5 for the punt return.
By the way, Davis, in that game, one of my best hits was Mahomes rushing under, and he crushed it like in the second quarter. But then on his kneel downs, he ran back 6 yards on each one.
He runs in the every time they've been in the Super Bowl. The first Super Bowl win, he lost 20 yards on his final kneel down. That
was the game, right? That's Damian Williams' game, isn't it? That's their first. San Francisco. Anyway.
Correct.
On Smith, Pat.
Smith is the guy I want to believe in. And the thing I like about him is that it's not maybe just a McKinnon type of role. Like, he was a real running back in his final season. And this does feel like the depth chart is open. I mean, Pacheco, on the one hand, it could be the injury, and he's going to be back to being Pacheco. On the other hand, this is kind of where dead zone backs live now, like this ADP.
Yeah.
Everyone's fallen. And what could be more of like a dead zone profile? He's in the final year of his deal. He was a 7th round pick. The last time we saw him, he looked like absolute trash. He was being committed by Kareem Hunt, who was giga washed. And then we have this guy who comes in who's actually explosive, a good pass catcher. It's like if I get any kind of the second I get a report that like Smith is making this team,
you already got it. It's already
gigantic
happened.
bag. I haven't seen that. Send it along.
Sweeney said the first day of rookie minicamp that he's trending towards making the team because he's such a good kick returner.
Yep.
All right.
I want better than trending.
I want trending. Yeah, trending is not.
Let me here. I will find it right now.
I want lock. Ideally,
I want he's in. He's the kick returner. If he's the kick returner,
Let's go. I mean, I gotta find a new round 18 pick. I can't draft 30% Miles Sanders anymore.
I'm just gonna I'm just gonna hammer Brashard Smith.
I agree so much, Pat. Like I think with Pacheco, especially because there's like a lag where I think the wide receiver tier extends just a little farther than the running back tier does. And I look at the guys that go like only really one round, maybe a round and a half ahead of the Pacheco, the Aaron Jones, the Swift. Swift's also on this list. And to me, it's like I'm looking at guys like James Conner, Alvin Kamara, the RJ Harvey, Trevion Henderson. Like, I don't know, even Judkins, Caleb Thompson. Like, those guys seem like so much better bets to me than the group of like Pacheco, Swift, B-Rob, and Aaron Jones, where like that, I can't really say that Pacheco's price in his rank among running backs is unfair or unreasonable, but like the running backs just ahead of him seem like way better to me. Whereas I look at the wide receivers and I feel not that way. Like I feel like the wide receivers that you're looking at the end of round 6 are not that meaningfully different than the group that I can look at the end of round 7, early round 8. Like I look at Downs.
If we were just re-ranking, wouldn't Downs be in the 6th? Like why isn't Downs in the middle of the 6th?
Right.
How has he not made this list yet?
I don't know.
Pacheco versus Downs. I mean, frankly, even Pacheco versus Pittman. I mean, frankly, even versus a guy like Ibuka, I'm like, I would way rather just click on those wide receivers and then draft the running backs a little bit earlier than draft the wide receivers in 5 and 6 and then draft because it's like that group is either like Aaron Jones, who might be totally washed, Pacheco and Swift, who are like purely drafted on their situation that everyone agrees sucks. And Brian Robinson is like almost no upside. It's like, to me, that falls off a cliff where that is like the classic dead zone of like, well, there's a few more.
I need a running back
left.
Yeah.
And it's like, these guys are the RB1, but no one really believes in them.
B-Rob, I was asked the other day about B-Rob. I didn't get to it in a comment, but it was like, it's like, he's talk about a guy who's being drafted purely for like the team he's on, not even for the situation exactly. Because the situation is that he's like an early down guy who doesn't have a total lock on those touches. They're going to design some stuff you'd imagine for Debo, and they're going to throw to Debo and Eckler, and they do a bunch of short stuff like that doesn't really involve Robbins. So it's like at best you're like, oh, sick. I have this like pretty solid RB2. And at worst, you're like, this guy, he does nothing for me. It's not that he doesn't have any touches. It's just like he just rarely hits my roster. Like I can never get any juice out of this 9th round pick or 8th round pick. So yeah, I mean, you go up a couple rounds and you're looking at guys like Kamara, who we just took in the main event, great pick, but like his nothing. You guys are just broken.
I haven't watched it yet.
I'm trying to track down this Sweeney quote about Prashad.
Sorry, I was reading early voting data in the New York mayoral race.
Yeah, that was a test. You guys failed. I
have no idea what you said.
I haven't seen it.
I just did my turn. I've been checking on the Bronx.
No, but like, okay, so Kamara is like the grossest click ever.
Yes.
But he's going to be like an RB1 for as long as he's healthy. The whole team's probably going to run through Kamara. It's disgusting, and it's going to be all volume driven, and it won't hold up.
10, which is now what I'm assuming is the joke you made 2 minutes
That
ago.
is the joke that I made. The joke is that you want to take him in the 4th round in the main event, because that's what we did, because we timed out.
That's how you do it. That's how you do a tease. That's how a professional does it.
You look at Kamara's floor. It's still like reasonably high. There's not that much competition.
At least for the first half of the year.
it could really hurt you relative to the opportunity cost. But like compared to DeAndre Swift, he's got a higher floor. Compared to like a Pacheco, he's got a higher floor, and he has a higher ceiling. So I completely agree that like waiting for this kind of group of running backs is probably not the right way to go, unless you're hammering like Scattaboo and Tootin. Honestly, I think Etienne still has more upside because the offensive breakup potential.
Yeah, and at least Etienne has like been really good. I don't think he is anymore, but he has been really good in the past.
Exactly.
And you can talk yourself into a scenario in which he is again. If he's a really good running back this year, like just independently of situation, like he just plays really well, I will be surprised, but I wouldn't be stunned if like Isiah Pacheco or DeAndre Swift play as like an actually value adding real life running back. I would be quite stunned by that development. If they survive the season as the starter and finishes the RB17, that seems plausible to likely. Yeah, but like that's not that scary to me if I'm fading them. Like that will not be the reason I have a bad year.
There's also Tony Pollard in this grouping, by the way. There's a lot of names.
Pollard is also like really fragile. Yeah, because it's to me like Pat said, like the fragile bets in 6 at least are fragile with a lot of upside. Like Kamara and Connor, you can at least see like I think way more upside. And then there's all these really fun rookies that are good.
Swift and Pollard, I think, are a little bit different than some of the other. Like Swift and Pollard, I think have a little bit more upside than even like, certainly than Brian Robinson. Pacheco's tough because if he just recaptures everything, maybe he does get there. But Pollard, I mean, you get the quarterback upgrade. You get we're willing to use him as a workhorse running back. It's kind of like discount Chuba is what you're hoping for there. But you don't have like game breaking upside. I do agree with that.
Pollard's a bit more like Aaron Jones to me, where you get a guy that like used to be really good. Is still okay, but is not as good anymore. But not bad yet. Could become terrible at like any moment, given age and injury history. And then you also have another guy there who the coaching staff keeps talking about how they want to make it more of a split. And you're kind of betting that the coaching staff is lying to you, which makes it, I don't know, it makes it scary to me to bet on an old running back that the coaching staff says they want to use less. But I understand how it could work out.
Where are you at on Spears? Because I've had trouble getting excited about him.
I've been clicking a shit ton of Spears.
Okay. I don't think he's that great, and he's literally only has one ACL.
I think he's good. I legitimately think he's good. I mean, that obviously didn't work out very well. Well, it didn't work out very well for most of last year. He's a weird player where he was like actually awesome down the stretch. And normally those players get way overdrafted the next year, but I feel like everyone has memory hold that entirely. Like I feel like no one remembers that he was actually
I don't know what that is. I agree with that. I don't know what that is. It could be a Tennessee Titans thing. There was a night game in Miami where Miami needed it and just gave it away. And Spears might have scored twice in that game. It was a kind of a good show.
That was an early game, and that was one of the worst beats I've ever had, actually, because I remember I had a team in the main event that Pollard scored a completely meaningless touchdown when Tennessee was already up by like 2 or 3 scores, and Spears had been playing the whole fourth quarter, and they subbed Pollard back in for one touchdown that beat me, and I like almost anyway.
The game I'm thinking of, I think, would have been 2 years ago, maybe. But still,
I remember that game. That was the one 2 years ago when the Variable went for 2 down 14, and then they got it, and then Hopkins scored the game-winning touchdown. Yeah, I remember that one.
And Mostert scored twice late when I needed to beat Mostert to get to the playoffs, and he had nothing game scored anyway.
2 years in a row with Tennessee Miami night games. I don't know. I think Spears is like clearly indecisive. I think Gretzky said this on the projection show with Leone. 2 years in a row, Spears has had over 8 yards after the catch per reception. Pollard has been under 5 in each of those last 2 years.
Yeah. Pollard's like a true two-down guy at this point.
Decisively, Spears is a much better pass down back. And I mean, we've only seen him in a change of pace role, so it's hard to have like that much confidence of what he is as a rusher. But he's had some interesting missed tackle force indicators that strikes me as saying like he's at least like a competent rusher. And I think that if Pollard were to go down, you're getting a very interesting contingent upside bet, and I think you're getting a pretty good standalone role. So to me, like he's like kind of a younger, more ascending version of like the Ramondre Najee bet, where it's like a timeshare plus contingent value. But to me, instead of Ramondre and Najee being guys that are very front weighted, where it's like they're going to start maybe in a 50-50 and then probably gradually decline over the course of the year. Spears, you're hoping maybe starts as a 35-65, but could potentially ascend over the course of the year. I just find that a more interesting version of that bet.
Right. Jacob, have you considered that he's too whittle?
Too whittle.
I haven't considered that, but I'm going to ponder on it.
Yeah, you've got time now. I want to make sure we spend some time on the quarterback topic that we advertised.
Sorry,
so
the last comment really caught me. Don't put it on the screen. Oh, all right, or do.
It's about his own mom. I think if it's your own mom, you can. I mean, it's it's a proud son.
This is a really weird joke to make about your own mom.
It's like such a weird.
You always have the your mama jokes, but it's an undervalued field of my mama jokes.
My mama jokes. Now we've got the chat asking questions, so we might need to move on to Fallers.
Yes. Fallers. We've talked about Jack Bech already today. Luther Burden, Travis Hunter. Have we talked about any of these guys before? Xavier Worthy. And
well, let's
Colston
get status check from Jacob on defensive back Travis Hunter.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, oh my God, those two tweets were incredible stuff by the Jaguars because literally they were released at like the exact same time. And you check the quote tweets, and it's like the DB one got like 5 times the amount of quote tweets as the wide receiver one because fantasy people gotta get their interactions. I wrote up my most recent Substack post is all about Hunter, and it's specifically not in response to those social media posts, but in response to, I think, a pretty substantive and meaningful James Gladstone interview where he said, don't read too much into that he's played a lot more offense than defense in camp. That's because it's more complex to learn the offense than the defense, and because he's more natural playing defense from college, we're probably going to have him ramp up on defense more throughout the summer, and he's going to play both ways. And I think that's a meaningful take for sure, and is I think a different framing of what they've done than some of the comments Liam Cohen made immediately after drafting him and what you'd read into the practice data. So I did a piece just sort of trying to articulate a range of outcomes based on take away X number of wide receiver snaps for defensive snaps, and how do we think that would affect his overall target share output. I think that the FUD is a little bit overstated because, one, I think there's like a firm floor at about like 120 to 140% of total snaps. If you say like he plays 100% of offense and defense, if you call that 200% snaps, I think there's like a firm floor of 120 to 140. Because if you're only going to play him like half the snaps on both, that doesn't make any sense. You'd rather just play him 100% of snaps on one and not have him learn 2 positions and fuck up all your rotations. The only benefit to playing him both ways is if you're playing him more snaps than he would otherwise play if he just played one side of the ball full time. Like otherwise it's just completely irrational.
They have also talked up his stamina in a pretty big way. They're just like, he literally does not get tired, and we should just like accept that is a thing he's able to do, and it's crazy, but like we're seeing it, and we don't want to ignore that.
Right. And he played like, I think it was over 1,400 snaps last year total in a much shorter season. So I think that there's, even if he plays basically equally on defense and offense, I still think he's going to play 60 to 75% of the offensive snaps. And I think that it's reasonable to suspect that a disproportionate portion of his offensive snaps that he sits are going to be run plays, not all of them, but about a higher portion than the ones that he does play. And then, there's an element of selection bias for the same reasons that you don't want to look at like Kadarius Toney's targets per route run and go, well, if he ran all of the routes, he would have a 28% target share. You also have to kind of apply this logic in reverse, where let's pretend that we had a crystal ball and we knew that if Travis Hunter ran every single route, he would have a 25% target share. You take away 20% of the routes, you apply that linearly, he would be down to a 20% target share. In reality, it'd probably be more like 21, 22, because some of the routes that he comes off the field to give him a break, they're just going to call, a screenplay for Parker Washington, or it's going to be a first read design look for Brian Thomas, something that Hunter's not a big part of the plan on. And they're going to center him in the plays that he does play. So that's all the cope that I have. I also think it's very fun that he is falling, because the nice thing is there are a lot of other bets in the first round that are interesting, or in the fourth round that are interesting. And I think there are far less in the fifth, especially at wide receiver. So if he's going to fall, which I think he should, he'll, I was ahead of market on his previous price, so I will drop him and still be ahead of market on his new price. And at this point,
he falls from here further.
Yeah, I think he will. Because, I had him about a round ahead of ADP before, and I'm still going to probably have him about a round ahead of ADP at his new price. I think he's going to wind up in like the mid-fifth is my guess. I've seen people that are like Hunter bears that think he should fall way more than that. I think people will price enforce find people. But, yeah, I think once he gets past like the Kittle Hurts group, because like I'm trying to think of guys that I'm like taking advantage of the Hunter fall to get more of, and like Hurts, Kittle are two. Worthy's a guy that I've been drafting more of now. Hampton's a guy I've been drafting a lot more of now. These are all very exciting players, but like I'm not going to take Chuba Hubbard ahead of him. I'm not taking Calvin Ridley ahead of him. I'm not even taking Waddle ahead of him. So I think like the mid-fifth, unless we get something that says like he's just going to play way more on defense than offense, I think the mid-fifth is like his temporary floor.
Pat, Jacksonville is sort of shaping up nicely at the 101, 102 range, with Jonathan Taylor in 2, and then Hunter now end of 4, Downs even maybe in 6. Like that's a game you can have fun with there.
Yeah,
or 7, 6, 7 turn.
I like that. Yeah, I'm generally with Jacob here, where I think like Kadarius Toney is kind of a weirdly interesting comp for the purposes of just thinking through like what targets per route run might look like for a guy like Hunter, where like, and this is weird because Tony's been a true bust, but I mean this in a bullish way, where he ran less than 200 routes in his rookie season, but he averaged 5.3 targets per game. He was on a pace to hit 90 targets. Jameson Williams had 92 targets last year in 16 games. Rome Odunze was at 96. Darnell Mooney was at 100. Jalen Waddle was only at 83. So there's like, this is in a range where it's like, you're already kind of okay. And then Tony sucked. That's the other thing, is that you have like the potential for him to not run that many routes, but still be fairly productive for fantasy, because they're going to be scheming him the ball in a way that's very uncommon and unusual. But of course it is. He's playing defensive back. So they're trying to make sure they're making the most of his snaps. He's the 2nd overall pick. He's a generational talent. He's top of mind. So there's going to be a little bit of a different style of usage than we're used to. So if he has 60% route participation, normally you'd be like, that's a huge red flag for the 4th or 5th round. I think Tony had a 27% targets per out run. I think we could see something like that pretty easily for Travis Hunter. So I do agree. I was never as in as Jacob, when he was in the 4th. So I kind of appreciate the fall a little bit, but I like, in the 5th round, I like it. I think it's a big upside swing. Dude gets open. Like in Matt Harmon's reception perception, he was off the charts. Some of the metrics and stuff, he's not like a perfect prospect, but he was like literally also playing full-time defensive back and winning the Heisman while doing so. So I think you're getting now a little bit more of the discount for the floor of, and maybe it's not even floor, maybe it's ceiling. It's like, is his ceiling actually more limited relative to the talent, because he's just never going to play 90% route participation.
I think the ceiling is
the right way to view it.
I think the ceiling is never that limited, because, or at least not in the later weeks, because I continue to think, and I did this in my piece through like an Excel formula, but I just think that his routes remain correlated to his talent at the wide receiver position. And I think the better he looks at the wide receiver position, the more routes he will run. And the worse he looks, the fewer routes he will run. And so from a ceiling perspective, I think kind of regardless of the noise, if you believe he is potentially an elite wide receiver from jump, then I don't think that routes are going to be a major concern for you, because either he will run a lot of them or they will just force him the ball whenever he's out there and he'll run enough of them. I think that the floor is horrible, because if he's not that good as a wide receiver, he's very good as a defensive back, and that the scales will continue to shift.
That's like the nightmare. That's like the nightmare.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, as a defensive back.
But it
I
won't
don't
happen.
know. It's just like we're all.
He is awesome.
We're
as a
all going to lose
back.
anyway. Like I don't. Yeah. Like he's definitely awesome as a defensive back.
But you don't make the move
anyway. I don't really care.
Jacksonville. You don't make the move Jacksonville made and just have him play corner. I mean, you're not saying entirely.
Oh, he's gonna get a very real chance at wide receiver. Not least of which, because if you just pretend in your mind that Travis Hunter plays only defensive back. The Jaguars now have an offense of Brian Thomas, De'Ami Brown, Parker Washington, Brenton Strange. That is like disgusting. Like they need Hunter to be part of the offensive plan. They can't rely on De'Ami Brown as their number 2 pass catcher.
There's no doubt that he will be.
I think the danger zone is that he's down around 40% route participation, and that could happen 80%. You talk about 120 as a floor, okay, but he's playing 80% on the defensive side and 40% on the offensive side, so you get to 120 that way. I think that's pretty plausible, and
that's
part
because he
line
of my
crushing
spreadsheet
it
in the range of outcomes. This is the 40-80.
Yeah. Maybe I read your article, so maybe that's why it's in my head. but yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty likely. I mean, he like his ability to close on some of those like throws to the flat and stuff. It's kind of magical. Like he could be. They could just be like, we can't take this guy off the field on defense. Like he could be too good to play as much as we'd like on offense. I think that's very realistic. So yeah, I guess it really does come down. It's more about the floor. I don't know. It's kind of about everything. Like does he play enough receiver is just the question.
Yeah, I did that podcast with Cody Alexander from Match Quarters, and he was assistant defensive coordinator under Art Briles at Baylor. And he was telling me, he's like, dude, if I was his coach, I'd be like, yeah, you're with the defense every day because for practice, because guess what? You can walk in the huddle and Trevor Lawrence can just say, hey, go run a post. Whereas on defense, you don't have anyone who can tell you what you're doing. You have to know your role inside of each individual assignment. Like you have to know it basically, he could probably be efficient and effective as a wide receiver without practicing there at all. Whereas that will not happen on defense.
I don't know if I agree with that because wide receiver is so much like timing and being at the right spot at the right time and, communicate. Like, I don't know. You want that mind meld with the quarterback a little bit.
This just seems like to me, like every offensive person who comments on this is like, look, man, you don't even understand offense.
You don't even understand.
He's got to play offense. And then every defense person is like, no.
Yeah.
Defense is so much more complex.
That's such
in the modern age.
Point.
Yeah.
Like,
I kind of have
like he's got to practice every day with the special teams. Like
I just kind of have that Joe Rogan thing going on with ball knowers where whatever you tell me, I'm just like, absolutely. Yeah, that makes total sense. And then
find out which Joe Rogan thing that you have. That's definitely one of them.
And then Jacob will tell me a smart ball knowing thing, and I'm like, yeah, totally. That makes total sense. It's like whatever the most recent thing I just heard is the most convincing thing I've ever heard.
The Tony comp was, I know, a little bit weird. I think Super Ninja Calgo Moo's mom is an even weirder comp here. You know who else plays both sides of the ball? My mom on OnlyFans. Still no links.
Show within the show.
We're not doing
I'm like, can we call Detective Olivia Benson? Like, I'm getting concerned.
Anything quickly on Loveland just
Steven,
being
you
out?
got nothing on that reference. The show's been on the air for 25 years.
No idea who that is.
Are you serious?
It's in our intro. It used to be before we got.
Oh, I've never watched. I've never watched that show.
Same here.
Incredible.
Law and Order.
How have you not like that show? You don't choose
how have
to
you never,
watch
heard
Law and
who,
Order.
Like she's like it's just it's
SVU was just on. Like,
What's
how
her
have you
name?
not been in a room with SVU on?
Well, as established, I don't leave the house much. My parents were not TV watchers, and I'm not really a TV watcher, so it just
good for you.
hasn't come up.
Yeah, it's not
for
on
you.
if you're sitting outside with your dog in the kiddie pool. There's no SVU
It's
there.
not. You know, I'm reading you know, whatever bullshit I think makes me smart at the at the time.
The Luther Burden, though, by the way, to totally switch gears, like it's fair that he's falling because he hasn't been practicing, but this is such a gift to have of this profile available at this section of the draft because this was like a wide receiver desert prior, where like if you didn't, however many wide receivers I had at the end of round 8 was how many wide receivers I typically had entering round 14.
Yeah.
And sometimes that number was 4, and that made me deeply uncomfortable. But having Luther Burden available now in the 10th is just like an absolute auto click. If I don't have enough wide receivers, you just draft Luther Burden, inject some upside into your lineup, and you're pumped about it.
Love it. Loved reading Matt Waldman on Burden. Very optimistic and excited.
Yeah, Burden, Waldman, he would be the type of guy I would expect to hate Burden. So that actually is
that
is like
nice.
pretty bullish. Yeah.
Anything on Loveland that isn't injury related? Just a small dip on him.
Well, it just feels like everyone should have realized that he was injured, and then like it seems like they just like everyone kind of had this mass consciousness awakening about a week ago that he's injured.
They haven't. Like what I would say is it's not priced in. When he misses the first part of training camp, he will fall. Like I'm not saying don't take him at all yet, but like if you're worried, and because I am, I Loveland shows up and I don't take him as much as I would like to, but I think I'm going to get plenty of him later. That's how I'm planning right now. I think he falls. This stuff is rarely fully priced because he's going to miss time. Like I don't think he'll like probably a couple weeks of training camp, maybe even more. And we saw Ben Johnson do the rant about you gotta be here, you gotta be available. That got applied to Burden, and he fell. Right. And he did miss time, but that is going to apply more to Loveland once we get to training camp, and Ben Johnson being a total hard ass, and then also having Cole Kmet there, who is probably going to coincidentally look great doing everything we ask while Loveland's rehabbing his shoulder. I just think it's going to lead to him falling, and we're going to get at least like probably another 10 picks on this.
Plus, it's rookie tight end, quote tight end, with a lot of competition. I mean, you can get Ferguson, Kraft, and Njoku kind of right there, and then other guys later. I think you're right.
Yes. Yeah.
Quarterbacks. So let me just go one by one here with you guys and see how close I came. I'm sure I'm way off on Jacob. Rather, I know he's not just waiting for Daniel Jones back from the open. But Jacob, to start with you, what's your philosophy on especially the top 3 guys here? And, Daniels in particular, maybe because he's just not as easily stackable. Still, like, how are you approaching it?
Well, this is also another one of the things that I'm trying to do with letting Hunter fall, is drafting more elite quarterback teams.
Okay.
Also with letting Harvey fall, is you get a little bit more Jalen Hurts in that early 5 slot. I checked my exposures recently, and I had realized I was very low on the elite quarterbacks, and I probably want to be a little bit, but not as low as I was. So I made a pretty specific point. I hopped in like a bunch of, what was it, the Schnauzer?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some sort of dog
$3
breed that I like. I think that was the one that's the 20 max entry, and I maxed it, and I think I drafted like Lamar or Jayden Daniels in 60% of those, just to kind of like spice up my life a little bit. I would say I'm taking I think that the order of the top 3 is incorrect. I think that it should be Jayden 1, Lamar 2, and Allen 3. And you guys no, I'm willing to press that point. So I think that my hopeful end exposure will be something like Jayden 10, Lamar 6, Allen 0. Hurts, I think, should just clearly be going in that group, and it doesn't really make any sense why he isn't.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
He'll be the only one that I'm like materially overweight. And then Burrow is like, I don't think about Joe Burrow because it's just if I have Chase or Higgins and he's available to me in the 6th, then I take Joe Burrow, and otherwise I don't. So
Right.
I like never make a Joe Burrow decision.
Why do you think Allen's third?
I just think that I'll first speak on
Very,
Daniels.
very diplomatic way to ask that, Chip.
Yeah, that was.
No, it's the question I'd want asked if I were listening. Is all. Explain it.
This is like
this is the less diplomatic way to ask that.
Why Zero Allen? Do you hate sacks? Yeah,
That's what I do here. That's what I do here.
So I think that Daniels, with the rushing quarterbacks, what we've typically seen is that the best rushing seasons come early in their career. And that I want to be betting on the guy where the offense is in the flexing its muscles, spreading its wings stage, and trying to see what they're capable of. And to me, that's what fits Washington. They go in and they add 2 big pieces: Tunsil, Debo. Debo's maybe a bigger piece than they were hoping for. And
see, I'm not researching the Merrill results here. I'm here.
Nice.
I'm good audience.
Good for you.
And I'm in New York.
True. Well, then you should be researching. Let me know what you see.
Polymarket had Mamdani up to 59%.
Oh, I've been refreshing. Anyway, I think Daniels is in a he's just in a spot to me where I think he's set to explode. I think people are maybe underrating his fantasy value slightly because he had that period post rib injury where he was a little bit contained. Otherwise, he was pretty much right up there with these guys. And I want to bet on that ascension. Lamar just runs a lot more than Josh Allen does between the 20s. And the Bills became a run-first team under Joe Brady. So to me, Allen's path is very reliant on rushing touchdowns, which he obviously gets at a very high rate and will continue to. But outside of that, the upside is pretty limited. They don't pass the ball that much. They don't have receivers, so they can't really pass the ball that well outside of Allen doing superhero stuff. So I just think the days of Allen having sort of multiple paths that he used to have a few years ago where he could throw 50 times or run for 3 touchdowns is kind of gone. And he's on a more narrow rushing touchdown focused path that just does not appeal to me quite as much. I also think with Lamar, you get a really fun contingent upside scenario where, like, what if Derrick Henry just got hurt? They don't really have any alternatives. Like, it's Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. I think their pass rate could go up by like 10%.
Hey, man, you are talking about 2023 NFL rushing yards over expectation leader, not rushing yards over expectation leader per carry, straight up rushing yards over expectation leader. And I know Mike Leone says that's a fake stat, but
I love Mitchell.
Yeah.
Jackson does not give you the touchdowns. Allen, I mean, there's so many ways to illustrate it. He has more career rushing touchdowns than OJ had. Like he'll get to 100, which, you know, with touchdowns, we're always talking about regression. And I don't know, this eventually it'll happen when maybe he starts to feel like he's older. He's 29 now, but
okay. Well, what Liam told me is that what if his hand was injured last year, which actually made him run more because they just didn't want him just like hawking the ball like 47 times a game. He's saying, Liam is telling me that it's actually super bullish for James Cook. I don't know. I'm not following it exactly.
I don't know.
The thing I would just push back on the idea that Allen doesn't have ceiling. I think he's not going to hit the ceiling as often as he should for how good he is, because the wide receiver core is not going to elevate him. You know, I guess relative to most teams, the tight end position, I guess, is a strength, but it's not going to like really pull him up much. But like, and of course you do have Brady, who's very overly dependent on kind of establishing the run and kind of limiting the pass volume. But like, they're not that good on defense, and they've had teams put up points against them, and now they're in response mode. I mean, twice last year, right, against the Rams, he put up 51.9 half PPR points.
I'm definitely not
in
saying
a game.
He does not have ceiling. He has an incredible ceiling. I think that his path to ceiling is narrower than it used to be, but he has incredible.
It's less frequent than it used to. But it's like, I guess what I want, like his ability to hit extremely high ceiling is, I would say, probably the best in the player pool. Like he still has the highest single game ceiling, I think, because he can combine the big time passing numbers with rushing in a way that I don't feel as confident with Lamar doing as much, because like when they didn't have Henry, they ran it with Gus Edwards. You know, like it's a little bit more truly an identity, I think, with them.
They don't have a
Daniels
guy like
is a bit more of a wild card.
Everyone, all the running backs on their team are tiny little dudes after Henry now. I guess they
have,
could just sign some.
They have Rasheen Ali, right? They'd find somebody. I mean, that's their thing. They bring in like.
They'll bring Mark Ingram back.
Yeah, they'll find some big dude to run around. Yeah.
What's Devonta Freeman up to? Is Isaiah Crowell available?
Daniels is the guy.
Dalvin Cook was there. I'm with Jacob on Allen. I'm much more with Jacob on Allen.
I mean, I'm still into Allen. Like, I sound like I think Josh Allen stocks. I just think that they're all. Maybe what I'd say is I think that they're all about the same, and if anything, I might rank Allen third. The fact that he goes like almost a full round ahead of Daniels to me is, I guess, where I lose out a little.
Sure.
Like, Daniels was a really good passer last year. Doesn't he have rushing passing combination ceiling?
Yeah, no. I was gonna say, like, I think Daniels, it's a wider range because you have the second year guy. We're now saying like you're truly an elite. He had a stretch last year where he was banged up and didn't look like that at all, and he's skinny, and like, you know, the offensive line isn't great. So there's some concerns. We also only have a 1 year sample of it. But if you want to talk about pure ceiling, I would probably rank Daniels number 2 behind Allen. Like, give me like the peak of what a game looks like. I think Daniels is probably number 2 behind Allen because he can combine the rushing and the passing.
You can put him in almost any order. Allen won the MVP with fewer passing yards and fewer passing touchdowns and a lower completion percentage than rookie Bo Nix, with Mac Hollins leading his team in touchdown catches with 5. Just insane. My take last year with the Bills was they ran the ball great. They're going to keep doing it. And they did. 6 offensive linemen all the time. They rushed for 30 touchdowns. I don't know. I feel like Jacob nailed it on the Bills. With their receiver room, I still kind of feel like betting against it a little bit. But, I mean, it's Josh Allen. So
I like that they played the Eagles in week 17. I think that's good.
That game sucks. You're so wrong about this.
You need look. I mean, the Eagles run a lot, but they don't run slow because Barkley breaks off long runs. They put up points.
That's true.
You need the Bills to be pushed. You need them to be losing, frankly, and they're a good enough team that's not going to happen a ton.
Is there a way that the Eagles
can put it on them?
Both be losing at the same time in that game?
That I don't feel so good about.
I hate that's a week 17 game, not for fantasy, but just like you have a chance of ruining that game. If teams have clinched by then, like it's possible. The Bills are the biggest division favorite in the league. And if they're 3 games up, even have the 1 seed, you could lose out. I don't like that the NFL put that game so late because it has such good potential. It's also, by the way, the last year at the stadium here. So
even if they have the division locked up, I bet they're competing for some form of seeding with 2 weeks to go.
Probably.
Like I bet they're at least in the mix for the 1 seed, or even if it's not that, maybe the 2 something will matter, I think.
Well, I think teams announced last year they're not that big on 2 versus 3 or 3 versus 4. But yeah, you're probably right. I mean, it's
but
just
they're not going to rest guys for 2 weeks.
No, it's just possible.
Teams almost never rest guys for 2 weeks before the playoffs.
Philadelphia, Kansas City in week 2 has no chance of being wonky because of the standings. But that's Buffalo true. Week 17.
I don't think the Hurts thing at all, though. Can anyone make like one? Like, why is he drafted like a full round behind these guys. It makes Hurts like it doesn't make any sense to me. Is it just like
they might ban the tush push, dude?
And then it just like wasn't banned, and we just decided that's where he goes anyways. It's like
also people actually hate Jalen Hurts. That's like a pretty key element.
That is.
I hate Jalen Hurts. I don't think he's like that good. I'm a Jalen Hurts hater, but like
you are. That's I forget that's been a battle. I don't hate him in
fantasy football.
In February of 2025, I wished he was much worse than he actually was. I was wishing the haters were right. I was watching that game. I was wishing that game. I was watching that Super Bowl going, God dang, man. I wish the Jalen Hurts haters were correct. Tough.
Hurts is an awesome pick. I was kind of low on the elite quarterbacks in the big board and have come up on them in post draft. I think all these guys, the boring answer, I think all 4 of these dudes are targets. I currently have overweight positions on Allen and Hurts, and I'm a little underweight on Lamar and Daniels, but that's not something I'm standing behind. I'm trying to correct that. I want to be overweight on all these guys, not like massively so, but I would say the guy would be comfortable, mid-teens would be Hurts. Maybe even up to 20% on Hurts. Like he's just like, I don't really get why you could get him in the 5th round. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, and I've done stuff where if I'm going to take a quarterback with Jamar Chase in the early 5th, I think it still Hurts.
Yeah.
It's not Burrow. It's Hurts.
Yeah.
You can, and if you go like McBride and Chase, you could do like Hurts and Murray, but I don't see the point really. Even Burrow, I've kind of come to like where I'm just not taking him until the 6th. I'm with you there, Jake. But it's like
always hard.
Yeah. And partly it's because I will literally take Hurts on those Chase teams or Higgins teams over Burrow in the 5th.
You have Hurts and Devontae Smith games being played in almost every draft at the left side of the board.
Smith, I don't love Smith. That I would have even more if I was more into Smith. Yeah,
I think he's a little Smith a lot. I occasionally take him just to set up the stack with Hurts. Like if Smith falls a little bit, and it's like I've done this exact scenario where I take Chase at 1, and then I come back on the clock at 48, and Smith and Hurts are both there, and I go, okay, great, screw Joe Burrow. I'm taking Smith and Hurts together, but. I agree. Like I like Pickens more than Smith. I like Flowers more than Smith.
Waddle.
Now that
Me too.
Behind him, I like Hunter more than Smith. So it's not a guy that I have interest in.
You guys can't draft Breece Hall and draft Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson.
That has been a big problem for me. Yeah, that's why I'm underweight.
Yeah, biggest issue there for me.
Anybody hear Scott Barrett on Breece Hall on a recent FFPC podcast?
No, but I bet he was bearish.
I would check that out.
I would ask that you check it out so I don't just twist it at all without meaning to. It was on an FFPC Big Gorilla Draft podcast of theirs, and he said he knows a bouncer from Hoboken or something that said Breece Hall was in the bar every day. Every day. Like
last year?
Last year. Yeah. Something about that.
Now?
Wouldn't you have been?
I literally was in the bar every day last year.
I'm going to take that as bullish.
I think it's bullish.
That explains his poor performance, and now he's learned, and he's in a contract year, and he's gonna put down the bottle and get.
Yeah, and maybe we don't know what that bar's like. Maybe there's a good social scene there.
Club. I should probably say club instead of bar. I'm not sure drinking was implied, but there was he was always at the place. That's all.
Okay,
drinking. That's even better. Club is more bullish than bar. Bar's a little sadder, if you're there every
day. Club
Let's
more
bullish,
yeah.
Club's
bullish.
There's some things going down at the club. You could be having a good time.
Clubs, boats, whatever. I mean, lots of ways to enjoy life.
I mean, this is why you got to stack them for week 17 with Diggs.
There it is.
The all club stack.
We need a new mnemonic device for suddenly. For Jets Patriots in week 17.
The real issue that I have with elite quarterbacks is partially Breece Hall. That's a big reason why I have more Daniels is because he's the one that doesn't go ahead of Breece Hall. But also, I just can't get over how much I like the quarterbacks and how much I hate everyone else that goes between like 120 and 145. Like this is just the most that I've ever wanted to live in the quarterback window. And I just feel so good about my teams every time that I get to that range and I have no quarterbacks, but I have enough wide receiver depth. I've gotten running back targets that I want. I've gotten my early tight end, and I just get to go Love, Lawrence, McCarthy, Prescott, May, Penix, like whatever, like just chap 3 of those
I'm with
guys.
You, man.
And it just, those teams just fall into place. And I think that you're the sim expert, so you would know better at how they sim, but they just feel like you're really taking advantage of the relative value of the drafts, and you build that way.
The sims like the elites because I think they're giving you something that isn't really available later. I mean, you can kind of talk yourself into Murray or Fields as, some of the rushing upside with, the mega ceiling stuff, but really the mega ceiling plus the high floor is these 4 guys. And so the sims do like the elites, but yeah, that window is like very, very much, sims endorsed as another path to play things this year. Like it's just an awesome year to live in the quarterback window. I completely agree.
All right. Well, none of these guys available in last call. Pat, are you caught up?
No, I guess I'll do 2. But I'll need to figure out who both of them are right now.
All right.
I'm trying to figure out positionally
I don't know
what I need.
These are players with ADPs at 200 or higher.
I think I know what I'm going to do, but let me just check here.
Now, do we have an official ruling on is it once a player has been selected, they can't be like there's no duping.
Yes.
There's no duping because we're building teams that compete with one another.
Frankly, I
have mine. I have mine.
Go.
I have mine too.
Heel turn, Anthony Richardson.
There it is. I mean, I just put that out for free last week. Jacob was first to it.
He's back. He's back over.
He says he's going to be
at 200? Is he ADP 200?
Okay. I'm looking right now. He is 202.1.
All right.
He was last week.
202.1. Apparently, he's going to be a full go at training camp. If you read the sort of athletic What I'm Hearing article, James Boyd, good reporter, said that Jones is still the overwhelming favorite to start in week 1. But I think that the worst case scenarios, the surgery, lingering, that's off the table. So now all you have to bet on, if you're an Anthony Richardson drafter, which I'm still not, but I'm far more into him at his current price than when he was the presumed starter in the 170s, is that Daniel Jones sucks or gets hurt. He's known to do both of those very frequently. And then Anthony Richardson gets in there for the playoffs and has a big week. So I will take Anthony Richardson, and it'll give me one hedge against my Daniel Jones position in my portfolio of winning last call for bragging rights.
All right.
I've got nothing. Everyone I would take is gone.
You need to expand your mind. My running backs are bad. It's not a good scene. So I'm gonna do something that is gonna make everyone cry and vomit. Blood is gonna kind of leak from their eyes. I'm gonna select Devin Singletary, who is gonna have the most inconvenient truth 800-yard 4-touchdown season of all time. Like if you think
team?
For he'll probably start for.
Is he on the side of the Ravens? Trade a 7th.
Could be the Ravens. Could be the Cowboys. There are a lot of different ways this one can go, but it'll be. This is the question: at what stage will the very first New York Giants beat reporter float that he's going to start? What are we thinking?
Never.
Are we thinking
never?
Yeah, okay.
Not happening.
Yeah,
we're
see.
never
We'll
getting
see.
that report.
Before August 1st. I got before August 1st.
Stolen by Tracy, and they drafted Scott. Why would the Giants? I'm into the idea if he gets cut or traded or something. That's kind of fun. But
lot of ways. I think that one. Not that I'm taking. I take him a little bit on.
What they could? Sorry, Davis. What they could do with Singletary? Their first preseason game is at Buffalo. What they could do with him is showcase him and see if anybody wants to make that move, a running back injury somewhere else. So you could get that back door that way.
I love it.
That isn't Orleans Darkwa ass pick, Davis.
Yeah. Oh my God, a great player.
I'll take Turpin since we talked about him.
That's smart. That's a good one.
God, I am bad at this game, man. I just basically what happens is I just keep taking fancy guys, and fancy guys are not gonna win this game.
I mean, look at my roster,
Jacob is going to win by like a lot. Jacob's team is.
I don't know about that, but
I
need Amari Cooper to sign. I've hit on 2 free agents that have subsequently signed contracts. We're getting CLV on Sanders. Although I got all my CLV on Jack Bech, but now he's coming back to the 200.
He's coming back.
Also,
yeah, you're losing CLV by the day.
It's like I hit a nice little 60-degree onto the green, and it was like right by the hole. I thought it was gonna have a tap in, but it's now coming off the fault.
Your middle line value was great. Your CLV not so good.
Exactly.
Also, real idiot shit for me not getting Brashard Smith.
Tough.
That goes back to April. I don't know what happened there, but I got him.
Embarrassing.
Who you got?
Yeah, Pat for 2.
Yeah, I need some more receivers. And looks like Zach tried to give me Efton Chisholm as my pick last week, but I'll be replacing that with another receiver.
I didn't see that before.
So you get 2.
Yeah. All right. I'll just kind of scoop up some of these. Let me just make sure they're not going. Okay.
And I tried to give you Richardson, and the other guy said that's not fair.
That wouldn't have been fair. That's too good of a.
They're right. No, they're right.
I have to make it myself.
They're right.
The other thing is my sheet didn't have Richardson is 200, so I wouldn't have made it. All right, I'll go ahead and take the most boring rookie receiver pick, but he did get decent draft capital. I'll take Isaac Tesla.
Okay.
And then I'll take a guy we're all excited about, rookies who get playing time. D'onte Thornton, not that great of a prospect, but he's out there. I'll take Arian Smith. He's gonna be out there too.
Eagles?
No,
Arian Smith is a crazy
Arian
pick.
Smith is for the Jets.
Arian Smith is a
Arian
Smith,
A&M guy from last year.
That is as crazy as the Jets actually selecting Arian Smith.
I think he's out there, but by the end of the season.
Because you guys have all placed Allen Lazard on the Steelers.
Yeah, Allen Lazard's going to be on the Steelers for sure.
Why isn't he on Jacob's team, Lazard? What's the holdup?
That's true. I got to get the stack. Can I just say something? I think Josh Reynolds is draftable.
No,
I don't know if he's draftable.
He's going to run like 91% of the routes in week 1.
For a future
Mason
episode.
Taylor. Mason Taylor is
week.
the one.
Yeah, he sure is. Week. Look at that nice list.
Mason Taylor, Jacobs tight end 1. All right.
God.
What do you guys have planned today and this week?
Swolecast in 10 minutes. I'm streaming some of these niche side contests on Underdog this afternoon. Probably do my corgi and whatnot on the
your
channel.
Corgis, your pit bulls, what's the other one that popped yesterday?
The poodle.
The poodle. Pat? Right on cue.
Right on cue. Yeah. The doodle. Murphy, come here. So yeah, let's see. I'm working on an article on tight ends, looking at play action participation rate, the guys who are good enough run blockers to be out there for very valuable play action snaps where tight ends get a lot more targets than wide receivers do, or they get a higher percentage of their production than wide receivers do on play action. And gonna have articles by Matt Irby and Michael Dubner on the site this week. And check out the Sidekick. We're in beta right now. If you sign up at legendaryupside.com/sidekick, you can use the Sims as we beta test them. And we have we're already starting to test out some of the other formats with the Sims as well. So I'm hoping that we'll have that for you pretty soon. Stuff like the Eliminator, Superflex, all that good stuff.
Very cool. Jacob?
I got an article up on Travis Hunter. We will have Dynasty Points tonight, as always. Graham Barfield is on with us tonight. I will have, I think, another piece out this weekend on specifically running back spike weeks. And yeah. Oh, check out the minisodes and find out who we drafted at the 410.
When I'm not watching the minisodes and the randomizer and the other shows, I'm hosting weekday afternoons in Buffalo. And Saturday this week is the live Scott Fishbowl draft in Buffalo.
Nice.
Fatty Beer at Wurlitzer in North Tonawanda, to be specific. My friend Louis G has done a great job organizing it. 4 drafts this year. Another fun format, like unusual, and Scott Fish Bowl is always great. So Saturday afternoon, open to the public if you want it. Thanks, as always, for watching and listening. We'll see you next week, July 1st, here on ADP Chasing. Bye for now.
Canada Day.
Canada Day, right.
Nice.
Beautiful.